For our next session, I'm very excited to welcome Bekah Martinez. You may know her as @Bekah on her social platforms. She is a mom of two with her youngest born just in June. And I want to congratulate her on her growing family and welcome Bekah now to our event. Hi, how are you? We
Good. How are
matched
you
today.
doing? I know. We both got the
You have to with Medela. We're all on brand here.
totally planned.
All right. So, like I was saying, you're here to give us a real mom's perspective, and thank you so much for joining and inviting us to share some of your story here today. For
Of
our
course.
moms, if you have questions for Bekah, please post them in the chat, and we'll just go ahead and get started with some of the questions we've already had for you.
Sounds good.
So I just want to start with a little background for you. As a breastfeeding mom of two under two, can you share a little bit about your experience this time around and how it was different from the first time?
Yeah. So it's funny because I had my daughter 18 months ago, my firstborn, and then my son is going to turn 2 months tomorrow. So, I mean, it's both helpful and really difficult that they were so close back to back because I felt like I was really kind of in the groove already having an infant when I gave birth to my son. But then, you're in a whole different kind of stage. You can't just sit there and like stare at your baby all day. You've got another little one to take care of. Life is way busier, way faster paced. So that was different to adjust to. Just even making time to just sit and really soak in the experience breastfeeding, trying to just relax instead of being like, okay, I got to do my emails. I got to do this. I've got to stop my daughter from like sticking things in the outlet. All that kind of thing was really different this time around. But I did feel really confident and really experienced this time compared to the first time. So that was definitely a plus.
Every time we see a mom that learns a little bit from a previous experience, it's so great to have that in your second or third experience.
Definitely. Yeah.
So you're tandem nursing, actually, your two children, right? What's that been like for you?
It's so funny because it wasn't actually necessarily part of the plan. I get asked a lot when I'm going to wean my daughter, and I'm like, well, I guess when both of us are ready. I was never someone who was like, I'm gonna, breastfeed her till she's 4. Like that was never something I felt really hardcore about. But as our journey has progressed, it's just been like, okay, neither of us are ready. And I was very lucky to be able to continue breastfeeding throughout my pregnancy. A lot of the time it was dry feeding because of hormone shifts. I didn't have a lot of milk while I was pregnant. But I just told myself, having this new baby, if I ever felt like it was too much, if I ever felt overwhelmed, touched out, any of that from having two at once, I told myself, I would give myself the grace to wean my daughter and just focus on one. And luckily, it has been a really smooth transition. I feel like it's really helped transitioning with a new baby in the family to have my daughter still be able to nurse. It's really comforting for her, and she feels like she's kind of included with me and the baby at times. And it's been crazy. Sometimes I have them both latched on at once. I prefer to do them at different times. It's a little less to juggle. But yeah, it's just been a learn as I go experience. And it's been really interesting. But I think, like I said, the most important thing for me has been making sure to give myself the grace to take whatever I personally need throughout this journey.
That's such great advice for moms because I think every mom wants to do everything they
Yeah.
can for their kid, but you can't do it at sacrifice of your own
No,
health and well-being. That's a really great way
absolutely.
to look at it.
Yeah, we need to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of our children
Yes.
properly. Super important.
So Felicia added a question in the chat for you. She wants to know what's the hardest part? What has been the hardest part of transitioning to two kids from one?
I think at this current moment, it's so thankfully with the newborns, they mostly just sleep and eat. That's kind of helpful. So I'm sure there will be different challenges ahead. But for me, the hardest thing has been feeling guilty, like I'm not giving my older daughter the attention that I was able to give her before the new baby, because before,
Right.
it was just the two of us. We were always getting to read books and, hang out together and cuddle. And it's difficult sometimes when I need to be nursing my son and to have to be like, I can't, I have to set a boundary right now. I can't play with you. I can't cuddle with you at this moment. And that's really difficult. Feeling guilty, feeling like I'm taking away some of the attention from her. But in those moments, it makes me more thankful for the moments that we do have one-on-one with the two of us. So I try to really savor those moments since there's fewer of them.
That's good. And we hear so much moms talk about the various forms of guilt that we feel.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like you were comparing yourself to other moms or what you've been seeing on social media or online?
Oh yeah, totally. It's hard because on one hand, sometimes I have felt jealous of moms who I feel like have this full-time work career and this just like, whole life outside of baby, like 24/7. But then at the same time, I went back to school when my daughter was 7 or 8 months. And then when I was gone those 2 or 3 days out of the week, I felt really guilty that I wasn't like other moms who are at home with their children 24/7. And so it's sort of interesting sometimes to be oscillating between like sort of envy and guilt at the same time, just depending on where you're at in your personal journey. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's something we all go through. And obviously being on social media at times can be really difficult. And sometimes I just need to like mute people on Instagram who I'm finding myself comparing myself to them like constantly. So,
Yeah.
It's something we all
That
go
is
through.
healthy. We
Yeah.
all need to just filter a little bit sometimes.
Yep.
So Catherine has a question for you. What kinds of things do you do with the older child to keep them occupied while you're nursing your youngest?
Yeah, that's difficult. I mean, that one, it just kind of, we play it by ear. Sometimes she's in the mood to like read a book or do something like that. Sometimes snacks really help. If I have like a little thing of Cheerios for her, something that she can really just take her time eating and playing with. And, I really don't like, all of us try to, of course, limit screen time. But sometimes if I'm in that mode where I'm like, I can only do so much to juggle the two right now, I'll put on a YouTube video of like horses or cats or something that she can watch and kind of distract herself for those 5 minutes or whatever that I'm nursing. So
Yeah.
we just play it by ear. And if I need to do screen time or something like that, give myself, again, the grace to do that.
Yeah, that's a good theme. Vivian would like to know, with 2 kids under 2, how much sleep are you getting a day? Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just reading the questions.
Yeah, again, it really depends on the day. My daughter's in that stage right now of sleeping where sometimes she wakes up at 5:30 a.m. and sometimes she wakes up at 8 a.m. And we're trying to work that out with her nap schedule and stuff, trying to find out what we need for her to get like a solid 11 or 12 hours of sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, when me and my partner are really good about it, we go to bed at like 10 p.m. at night. And that, is a foolproof method for me to get at least 7 hours of sleep. But a lot of times that's not super realistic. So we kind of take the gamble, and sometimes we're going to bed at like 11 or midnight. And then sometimes she wakes up at 8 a.m. and it's miraculous and we get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And sometimes that's not the case. And of course, in the first month with a newborn, you're just barely hanging on, barely surviving. And I heard one of the experts say earlier, try to get anyone you can to help so that you can get some sleep. And in the first month and a half, that was the key, just for me to be able to take little cat naps here and there throughout the day to make up for the deficit of the night before. So I definitely would take that advice.
And as a mom, as a breastfeeding mom, your body is going through so much. So rest is so important.
I really underestimated that this second time around because I was very grateful. The birth went a lot easier, like just it was just a lot more of a simple experience, and I was healing faster, but my body was so much more fatigued. So that was something I wasn't expecting, and I hit a wall at a certain point. So just get as much sleep as you can, even if you feel like you don't need it.
Yeah. And so another question here, you're also pumping now, right? So we want to know a little bit about how that experience has been going for you.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of pump. Again, one of the experts earlier mentioned this about just focusing on what you need basically in the immediate future. And I too have felt the feeling when I look at people and see that they have like 5,000 ounces of milk in their freezer. And I'm like, oh my God, I have like 3 bags of milk in the freezer. But I try to just remember what she was saying and like only pump for what I need.
Right.
And yeah, it's hard to make the time to pump sometimes, and it's hard to make yourself sit down and do it. So I find myself doing it more at night, like when my older daughter has already gone to sleep, if I need to sneak in a session or two. And then I bring my pump with me too when I'm out of the house for the day on work stuff. And that's a little easier because, you get 10 or 15 minutes to do that without any kids in sight.
Definitely. We see a lot of moms, your body gets into a rhythm. So if you're away from baby, when they would normally come up to you to nurse, then you have your pump available to you.
Yes.
So it's always nice to have one that you can carry along with you when you go places. And
Yes.
What pump are you using?
I am using the Medela Pump and Style. I was just using it this morning, actually. I really like how compact the actual, I don't know what the thing is called, but like the system. I had
a pump body. Yes.
Yes, the pump body. I had one before that was like probably 3 times the size, and it was just heavier and bulkier. But this one is like super compact. I wish I had it when I was in school because that was so hard, like having all my books and laptop and everything, and then also having like a giant whole pump system with me.
Yes. That's why we've started including shoulder bags, pump bags with all of our products, because it really does make a big difference to have a bag that can have all of your bottles, breast shields, tubing. It's a lot of extra equipment.
Yes.
All right.
The more compact, the better.
Absolutely. We've got just one more minute, so I'll ask one more question here. Emily said she saw you got back into working out after your last delivery and wants to know about that transition and how it's been for you.
I definitely think, again, this is kind of what I was saying earlier about another question. I think you just have to play it by ear and like really listen to your body and listen to your needs. And like I said, I was feeling really good shortly after my delivery, thankfully. But I kind of gave myself, normally experts say to wait like at least 6 weeks before starting physical activity. Of course, talk to your provider about that. So I told myself, just wait even like a month. 4 weeks was kind of what I gave myself. Even before doing just like walks around the block, I tried to take it really easy in the first month. And I cannot stress enough to first time and second time moms, just do less than you think you're capable of if possible. Really give yourself that space to heal and recover more so than you think you need. So around 5 or 6 weeks, I was starting to feel like I was ready for some activity. And I only do 15 or 20 minutes of like cycling, and I just do it when I want to. And that's kind of fun because it's just time just for me. And so I really like revel in that 15 or 20 minutes. But there are some days still where I feel really easily fatigued. And those days, maybe I'll do something like some light stretching or maybe just a little walk around the neighborhood with the stroller. So I just try to really play it by ear and find out what my body needs and what I need personally. Again,
stay flexible. So before I let you go, we are getting one question pretty often here in the chat. You mentioned earlier that you were dry feeding when you were pregnant. Can you explain what that is?
So, I can't confirm with 100% that this was the case, but when you are pregnant, a lot of times your supply will seriously lower. Some people will stop producing milk altogether. Now, my daughter, she was, I want to say 9 months when I got pregnant. And so we were, I could even tell while trying to hand express or trying to pump, even during what would be a normal feed, that there wasn't really anything at all coming out. And and I could also just yeah, I could just basically tell she wasn't getting very much. And then when I was giving her like a bottle supplementing with formula or with water or whatever, because she's, now around a year old, I could tell that she was really thirsty. Like my breast milk was obviously not enough for
Mm.
her. But I wasn't having any pain while nursing or any discomfort. I know sometimes that's an issue for moms who are pregnant. There's a lot more nipple tenderness, but that wasn't the case. So I allowed her to basically just keep comfort feeding. So she would nurse around her normal feed, what would be her normal nursing schedule, but she was kind of just sucking for comfort during that time. Wasn't getting very much milk. My milk supply never completely stopped, but yeah, it wasn't really there. And then around the last few weeks of pregnancy, I believe I started producing colostrum because I could start expressing it.
Right.
And so she was drinking that during that time. But I definitely would urge moms to speak to a lactation consultant and do research around all of that, because it's very confusing about, is the newborn getting enough colostrum, and, am I producing enough for two, and all of that. There's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, hopefully that kind of answers the question.
No, it did. Absolutely. And there's benefits, so many benefits still, even if your toddler wasn't getting as much breast milk, to sitting skin to skin, to
Yeah.
first stimulating your breast to prepare you for that second baby. So
Yes.
sounds like you did all the right things.
Tried to.
All right, we are at time here. I want to thank you, Bekah, so much again for joining us today.
Yes, of course. Thank you
And
so much
for
for
those
having
of
me.
you interested in connecting with Bekah, you can follow her on Instagram at Bekah,
With a K.
Bekah.
Yep.
All right,
Thank you
thanks
so much for
again,
having
Bekah.
me. Bye-bye.